Somewhere, right now, there is very likely someone living a life that mirrors yours in ways you'll never know about. For Elena and Marisol, that wasn't a hypothetical. It was their entire lives. They were born 4 minutes apart, in the same small hospital, to the same mother. And by the end of that week, they had been separated and would not meet again for 34 years. What happened in between is the part almost no one can explain. Mira found their story almost by accident while researching something else entirely. What she found would take her the better part of a year to fully untangle. This is the story of 2 women who never knew each other and somehow lived the same life anyway. Their mother, a young woman with no family nearby and no way to care for 2 infants, made the hardest decision of her life. At the time, the adoption agency's policy was to place infants quickly, sometimes without keeping the 2 together. One daughter went to a family in Bell Hollow, a quiet coastal town on one side of the world. The other went to a family in Alder Bay, an equally quiet coastal town on the other side of the world. Neither family was ever told the other existed. Elena grew up believing she was an only child. So did Marisol, 4,000 miles away. Both families loved their daughters completely, and neither ever suspected a thing. It would be over 3 decades before anyone connected the 2. In the meantime, something extraordinary was quietly happening without either family noticing. By 7, Elena and Marisol, without ever meeting, were becoming remarkably alike. Mira would spend months documenting exactly how alike. 7-year-old Elena begged her parents for violin lessons. That same year, 4,000 miles away, so did 7-year-old Marisol. Both 7-year-olds quit within 8 months, and both, for reasons neither could quite explain, took up painting instead. Both were, by their teachers' accounts, unusually gifted at it. Both had a favorite spot to paint from, a window overlooking water. Both were left-handed, despite neither of their adoptive parents being left-handed at all. At 11, both Elena and Marisol broke their left wrist within the same season, falling from playground equipment. Both kept journals starting that same year, and both, oddly, wrote left to right and then reversed the page. Mira found both journals, decades later, in each woman's respective attic. The handwriting, when compared side by side, was nearly identical. At 9, both Elena and Marisol were afraid of the same specific thing: deep water at night. Both had recurring dreams as children about a house with a red door that neither had ever actually seen. Neither family had ever lived in a house with a red door. By 16, both girls had grown into thoughtful, quietly determined teenagers. And both, at exactly 17, decided they wanted to become architects. At 19, Elena left Bell Hollow for architecture school in a coastal city. That same year, Marisol left Alder Bay for architecture school in a different coastal city. Both schools, though on opposite sides of the world, followed nearly identical 5-year programs. Both graduated at the top of their class, and both gave nearly the same graduation speech, almost word for word. Mira found video recordings of both speeches, uploaded years apart to entirely different platforms. Both women took their first jobs at small architecture firms specializing in coastal restoration work. Both were promoted to lead designer within exactly 4 years. Both women, in their spare time, began restoring a small sailboat, entirely on their own. Both named their boats after their mothers, women neither of them had ever actually met. Both women, without knowing it, had chosen the exact same name. Mira sat with that discovery for a long time before she could keep working. She reached out to Theo, who had helped her with genealogical research before. Together, they began building a full timeline of both women's lives, side by side. Every year, the parallels only grew stranger. And then, at 29, both women met the men they would marry. Elena met her Daniel at a friend's dinner party, seated beside him entirely by chance. Marisol met her Daniel at a boat repair shop, where he'd come in for the exact same kind of varnish she needed. Neither Daniel knew the other existed. Neither Daniel had ever met a woman named Elena or Marisol before. Both couples got engaged within 11 months of meeting. Both weddings took place in the same month, 11 days apart. Mira found the wedding announcements in two completely unrelated local newspapers. Both articles listed the groom's name as simply Daniel. Theo double-checked the records 3 separate times, certain he'd made some kind of error. He hadn't made an error. Both Daniels, it turned out, worked in nearly identical fields, marine engineering. Both women kept their own last names after marriage, a choice each described, separately, as simply feeling right. For years later, both women had daughters, 6 weeks apart. Elena named her daughter Wren, after a bird she'd always loved without knowing exactly why. Marisol named her daughter Wren too, for exactly the same unexplainable reason. Mira found both birth certificates within the same week of research. She had to step away from her desk for a while after that one. Both Wrens, growing up, showed the same early love of drawing that their mothers once had. Neither mother ever mentioned the coincidence of the name to the other, because neither mother had ever met the other. That was about to change. But first, one more parallel needed to be understood, the hardest one of all. When Wren turned 4, Elena began experiencing an unusual, persistent fatigue. That same month, 4,000 miles away, so did Marisol. Both women, within the same week, made appointments with their doctors. Both were referred for extensive testing after routine blood work came back unusual. 3 weeks later, both received the same rare diagnosis, within 4 days of each other. It was a rare autoimmune condition, one their doctors each said they'd only seen a handful of times in their careers. Mira found both medical records through public health research databases, both women having agreed, separately, to anonymize data sharing for rare disease research. She recognized the diagnosis codes before she even fully understood what she was looking at. This was the moment Mira knew the story was bigger than a strange coincidence. She called Theo immediately. Both women, it turned out, were managing the illness well, with good medical care and full, hopeful prognosis. But the timing, the diagnosis, the 4-day gap, felt like too much to simply be chance. Mira and Theo went back to where it had all started, the adoption records from 34 years earlier. With the family's permission, they requested the sealed records be opened. It took another 6 weeks and a great deal of paperwork before the records finally arrived. Inside was everything: the original hospital records, the separate placement forms, and their mother's name. Their mother, it turned out, had passed away 8 years earlier, never having told anyone about the twins she'd once had to separate. With the records confirmed, Mira finally had what she needed to reach out to both women directly. She wrote to Elena first, as gently as she knew how. Then she wrote to Marisol, with the same care. Both women, independently, called Mira within an hour of reading it. Both asked, almost word for word, the exact same first question: does she look like me? Mira told them both the same true answer: yes, almost exactly. It took another 2 months to arrange, but eventually, a meeting was planned at a small coastal town exactly halfway between them. Mira and Theo flew out to be there when it happened. Elena arrived first, 20 minutes early, unable to sit still at home any longer. Marisol arrived 12 minutes later, walking slowly, taking a long breath before stepping inside. When the door opened, neither woman said anything at all for a long moment. They didn't need to. Looking at each other said everything that needed saying. Elena crossed the room first, and Marisol met her halfway. The embrace, when it finally came, lasted nearly a full minute. Mira and Theo, watching quietly from the doorway, didn't say a word either. They talked for 6 hours that first afternoon, and somehow, it still didn't feel like enough time. Both Daniels arrived that evening, meeting each other, understandably, with a great deal of laughter. Both Wrens met that evening too, 2 4-year-olds staring at each other with wide, curious eyes. Within minutes, They were holding hands, as if they'd always known each other. Elena and Marisol now speak nearly every day and visit each other twice a year. They are, by their own account, exactly as close as they always somehow already were. Mira still isn't sure what to call what happened to Elena and Marisol. Coincidence feels too small a word. Fate feels too certain a word. Maybe some connections simply exist, whether or not two people ever get the chance to find them. If this one moved you, share it with someone you've always felt strangely connected to. Subscribe for more true mysteries about the threads that quietly hold us together.